Hello everyone, welcome back to my look at these old superhero drawings of mine. Last week we ended with this image which I just thought was funny, that I had these two characters next to each other here because it's purely a coincidence, just because of their names. But we'll take a look at them one at a time here. Now both of them obviously had kind of a sexual element to their design, which is a little embarrassing now looking at it. Like, it's just I took Power Girl's outfit and then replaced the white parts with like black latex, I guess, based on how shiny this is. I don't know. The boob window is ridiculous. But with Breathtaker here, like, the sexuality was an element of her character, in that her power was that she could literally take your breath away. So she would like come in close on her victim and then like go like she's kissing them, but instead of like a kiss, she would like suck the air out of their lungs, and I don't remember if that was supposed to be like fatal, like she literally sucks out all the air or just enough to like knock them out. Probably she could control it, but that was her power, and that's really all I remember about the character. She wasn't going to be like a major villain. I don't remember her origin or motives or anything like that. I think she just used it as a way to steal things, but she might have also been like a for-hire type villain. You might can see these erase marks around her hair. I later changed her hair to this more like slick emo type look, but originally she had like blonde pigtails. And I think her outfit might have originally not been black too. I think I just wanted to make her look more evil, so I darkened her up a bit. Brick House, on the other hand, doesn't really have a reason for the boob window. I guess maybe she just likes it. Maybe it makes her feel stronger or more empowered. I don't know. But her thing. The whole idea behind her character was there's the song Brick House that's about how attractive this woman is, because a brick house is just a way of referring to an attractive woman. And I heard this song when I was younger, and I had it explained to me that like back in the day of outhouses, like a brick outhouse would show how like rich you were or something, and that's where the saying comes from. But all I could think of was that like a brick house sounds strong, you know, like in the Three Little Pigs, it's the strongest of the houses. So my idea was to just have us like a really powerful, attractive woman, which isn't an original idea, but I thought Brick House would be like a good name for that type of character. And so that was the whole idea behind her. I think she was going to just be like a hired muscle, kind of like with Breathtaker. I said they didn't have anything in common, but kind of like with her, I think she would be somebody that like the more cerebral villains might would hire. Not that she wasn't smart or capable of pulling off her own heists or crimes or whatever, but I don't remember planning a whole lot for her beyond the concept, which I really liked at a young age. This is like the second or third drawing of hers. I have no idea. A lot of these characters were redrawn at one point or something. Some of them you could see the erase marks of the original drawing on the same page. Some of them, the original drawing may not exist anymore, I don't know. But I mostly just thought it was really funny how, like, it looks like I just made these two characters at the same time when I just had, like, I was really into, like, one concept. But they had nothing to do with each other and were actually created quite a bit apart, time-wise. But if we move on here, the Bronze Griffin. I'm trying to remember details about this character. So I think he was from South America. But I mostly like, I had a character earlier that was or maybe no, actually maybe we haven't gotten to him. I remember never mind, forget what I was about to say, but I I was really into the idea of like a rugged construction worker looking type guy who has angel wings, and this was just inspired by Hawkman, but that was the appeal that I saw in Hawkman, was that when you took away like the hawk elements, at least in the version of Hawkman I was familiar with, when you took away the hawk elements of his design, he was just kind of like just a beefy dude, but then like the like big wings kind of offset that, and I thought it was an interesting dynamic. There's another character later who is closer to Hawkman. I thought we had talked about him, but the more I thought about it, I think he's actually on the villain side. I think he's further back. But the Bronze Griffin, I think, came from that same idea. I want to say that there was a cartoon character from like a kid's cartoon that helped me move in this direction with him, like by having him have like the color bronze, because like his outfit would have been bronze, but I can't remember now who that was or where that would have come from. I don't remember anything else about the character, but I like looking at him now. I actually really like this character, and I would like to figure out something for him if I was ever going to do something with these characters, which I'm not planning to. But if I was going to, I would want to try and figure out something for the Bronze Griffin, because I think I like this character probably more than I did when I first made him. But that's that. Moving on, Chameleon, you can probably guess by his name, could take the shape of other people. He was basically like Doppelganger on the hero's side, except he had an actual power. It wasn't skill or expertise at anything like Doppelganger's was. He just could take other people's form. He is limited to humans, so he could only take the form of other humans. But design-wise with him, like his basic design, I just wanted him to look like a normal guy, but also kind of like sleazy, and that's why he's got this expression here. Because I think he mostly used the power to like con people. I don't think he was like a big supervillain type supervillain, but he was like a criminal that had this power, and I think he was going to play a few different roles with my plan for him. Like he would be somebody that like other villains might use to gather information, or he would be somebody that might factor into like some mini story. Like sometimes a superhero story would start out with him catching a smaller criminal before the real story starts, and maybe that would be Chameleon in the middle of like a conning somebody or pulling a scam, or he would maybe even be like a snitch or something like that in a similar fashion. Like a superhero manages to catch him and then shakes him down for information or something, because he's not, despite his expression here where he looks really confident, he's not like a brave character. He's not a powerful character. He has no abilities beyond the ability to hide. And so that was Chameleon, though. I just wanted to have a character like that. I really liked the Chameleon back in the old Spider-Man cartoon, and while this character is very different from him, other than the power, I just wanted to have a character that could shapeshift like that, in that fashion. Checkmate here. Checkmate's a big player. So, where do I begin with the... Checkmate's whole story was in his change. He started out as a superhero, and he was going to be a member of the teen superhero group that you heard come up several times. I would point out like this character or this character. Some of you may remember Empathy from there, and I don't know if I could find her again or not. But yeah, there she is. So Empathy, I mentioned her. I mentioned she had some siblings, and I did get confused who her family was at first. But I remember now who it was, because originally I thought she was the sister of the twins that would fuse into a bigger superhero. But she's not. But she does have a sister, and she has lots of other unknown siblings. And we'll talk about those if we have time to get to the person that comes after Checkmate here. But one of Empathy's sisters, who will be somewhere in the back, further back in this villain section, starts dating Checkmate while he's a member of this superhero team, and he does have some kind of anger management issues, but really they're not a big deal. His superpowers involve creating explosions. Obviously this character predates this show, but if you guys have seen the show My Hero Academia, I think he's a bit like Kacchan in that show, in that anime. The way I had his powers work, Kacchan's are different and more thought out, but basically he would create like these big explosions. He was supposed to be like this character that would like older superheroes would look and be like, he has a lot of potential. He's going to be like a big deal when he gets older. But then he starts dating Empathy's sister, and the other characters don't know this. But Empathy's sister, when we get to her, she has the power to amplify emotions. She can't like create new emotions or like mind control people, but she can make people feel things stronger. So what she would do is like when they would go on a date, amplify his natural jealousy, which is there because he's not a perfect person. But she would take the jealousy that was already there and amplify it to the point where eventually he just became like enraged constantly, and he would just be like jealous and paranoid and have all these super toxic tendencies that would like affect his hero work and eventually completely destabilize him until he just kind of snaps. And at that point, like, she's no longer Empathy Sister is no longer in control of what she's doing, of her plan, because her plan was to try and get, basically was that she wanted to get like some kind of super muscle that would back her up and like be her partner in crime. And it backfires because she pushes him to the point where he doesn't like trust her. He doesn't trust like, and so he just becomes this complete loose cannon villain who like thinks everybody's out to get him, thinks everybody's out to undermine him, and this he just becomes this complete wrecking ball of a character that can't be controlled or reasoned with, and like I think around this point is when it becomes revealed that the strength of his explosions is tied to his emotional state, and so now that he's just constantly on edge, he's a lot stronger than he was before too. And so like the whole team, I think, would eventually like take him down, and then he would maybe come back other times. But like whenever I talked about like or thought about ranking the heroes and villains in terms of power level, he was always in like the top 10, maybe even top 5, depending on how into the character I was at the time. But he was supposed to be like a really big player. But he doesn't have any real goals or ambitions besides chaos and destruction because his mind is so gone from the manipulation of this other character that we'll talk about later. Moving on, though, Chester the Jester here is the father of Empathy and that character I was just talking about, whose name I don't remember offhand, but I'm sure I'll recognize her when we get to her. Chester the Jester is is an event villain, by which I mean like his story arc was going to be a big event that would tie together all the active heroes at the time that it happened. And I know he doesn't look like much here, but he was based off of a character called the Mule in Isaac Asimov's Foundation series. I read those books when I was in high school, I think, and I was really into them at the time. And Chester the Jester is kind of based off of that. Chester the Jester is what like people would call him, mocking him. Obviously, you can see he was a dwarf, and he had problems with that growing up, and that kind of instilled this this anger. And then eventually, through means that I don't remember offhand, he would become exposed to Viglanium, which would give him the power to create any emotion that he wanted into another person, which is effectively like a mind control. But what he did was, because he felt so like rejected by society, is he just made anyone who was close to him madly in love with him. Like, maybe not romantically, but like a deep adoration like you would have for your greatest hero, you know? And in that way, he was able to successfully conquer or take over, I think, America. He was very successful in managing to take over a large portion of the world, I think. I don't remember how widespread it was going to get, but the idea was that he would effectively win and then get taken down by some element of chance. I don't remember how it was planned that he would be defeated. There would be something where he would be defeated, but when he was taking over, any attempts to take him out would fail. Attempts at taking him out with like a long-range attack, like a drone or something like that, would ultimately, he would be protected by the mixture of heroes and villains who he surrounded himself with. He had like a posse of really big, powerful characters at the time. But since he was so successful and since he could effectively mind control people, he also had a lot of kids. which, like I said, Empathy was one of his daughters, and this other character is another one. There might have been other characters that were planned to be, like that was their origin story, is that they were Chester the Jester's kid. I don't remember. But those two, and they weren't sisters. I think they were half sisters. But like probably any character that had any kind of emotion control or manipulation or any kind of emotion based power would probably have been one of Chester's kids. And that was the idea with that character, was just to do like this big event with him. But then, like when he's defeated, it is by killing him. So once he's defeated, that's it. But he was successful in taking over the world, or at least most of it. I remember that much. Okay, moving on to Cinder here. If you guys remember the character Redemption, I mentioned the idea with him was to retell large parts of the WWE superstar The Undertaker's career. Cinder was created to be his Kane, if you couldn't tell by looking at him. He was, his brother. He was horribly burned, and in like the wrestler's case, he wasn't actually burned. But in Cinder's case, you can see that I did try to make him actually burned. He was never going to take the mask off, and Cinder had a firepower, basically like a flamethrower that he could throw out of his hands. He was a pyrokinetic, I think, and he was Redemption's brother, and he hated him, and he was going to be one of his villains as part of that concept. And that's really all there is to it. He was just a supervillain version of Kane. And if you know anything about wrestling, you can probably gather how that would have played out. And if you don't, you probably still can, because it's really not that complicated. I don't think I was going to recreate the whole like parents were killed, but when a funeral home burned down, like that whole origin story. I think the origin was going to be different. But the emotional basis of their rivalry would still be the same. Moving on to Cinnamon. I don't remember exactly the plan with Cinnamon. Like she had the power similar to Jubilee in X-Men. I know that there was another character I said had that power too, or something similar. But I just liked the idea that like when you think of Cinnamon, you think of it having like a kick to it. And I was trying to like create a power like that, because I just had the idea that like, Cinnamon can be a good name for a redheaded character. Cinnamon can be a good way to describe this like spark power, and like that was kind of it. And so I made this character Cinnamon based off of those ideas, and that was kind of it. I don't think I had any real plans for her either. A lot of the villain characters, like some of them I had really big plans for, like Chester the Jester and Checkmate. I had these big story arcs planned for them. Some of them I just had an idea, and I threw it out there, and I decided to make them a villain because I wasn't sure I would have enough to work with to make it worthwhile to make them a hero. And that's kind of the case here with Cinnamon. Similarly with Cloud, I don't remember a lot of details about Cloud. I knew he could fly, and that was it. And that his powers came about through like a surgery. You can see there's these lines over his body that was meant to indicate the surgery. There's no rhyme or reason to these cuts or these scars. That's just, I just drew them on there because that was the idea. I think he might have been part of the same origin story as Bones and Lady Morrow. Like I mentioned that they were kind of forcibly experimented on, and Cloud might have been similar, from that same group that was conducting these experiments, but in his case it was more of an invasive procedure, so just exposing him to like a Viglanium or Viglanium mixture. But that was it for him. He could fly. And I noticed the next character is one of the villains that I had a lot planned for. So I will put off talking about him until next time. We'll just start with the next character, who I'm excited to talk about, because I was really proud of this character at the time that I made him. I thought he was a really cool idea. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed looking at some of these characters with me. Sorry if I get a bit rambly sometimes. I don't like have a script or anything with these. I'm just kind of talking off the top of my head. But I really appreciate the feedback I've been getting for these videos. At this point, only a couple of them are public. By the time this comes out, obviously, like 7 of them or 8 of them will be. But I'm happy that people seem to enjoy them, because I put a lot of time into these over the years, because I had big plans at one point, and I'm really happy that people are enjoying hearing about them, as silly as some of them may be. So I'll see you guys next week, and we'll start off talking about the Colorblind Kit. I'll see y'all then. Bye.